Okay, well, I will leave my video off for this one, but just a quick introduction of who I am. My name is Bridget Ballard, and I'm also a Modern Work Customer Success Manager for the Washington, California, and Nevada regions. So for all my customers, hello, and welcome to the session, and everyone else, super happy that you all are able to join us today. Specifically for this part of the session, we are going to be covering sharing collateral. Oh my gosh, can't say that word. Collateral in Microsoft Teams. That constitutes documents, OneNote, PowerPoint, and maybe even other applications inside of Teams. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into one of our meetings that we have on our calendar. I'm going to go ahead and go into our week 2 webinar right here. All right, so as I jump into my meeting, we can see that the mod administrator is here. And specifically, the first thing I'd like to cover is this share content. Now, when you go to share content, this is what not to do. As you can see, I have tons and tons of tabs open right now. As a best practice, and I'll go ahead and clear some of these out as I go along, you'll want to have your tabs closed and your other presentations closed as well. The only thing you're going to want to have open on your screen is specifically the 1 or 2 things that you would like to share. So again, this is what not to do. As you can see, I have multiple other PowerPoint presentations that I've been working on. Maybe I have my personal OneNote open, I have my Outlook open. You know, when I go to share my screen, it's difficult for me to filter through all of these. So what I should have done before this session is I should have gone and I should have cleared out all of this. So, you know, moving forward, I know that I want everything in here to be clean and I just want those specific things that I'm sharing. So give me 1 second, I'm going to minimize and I'm going to close out my tabs here and I will show you what we want it to look like. Okay, so this is going to look a little bit better for us. And now, as you can see, oh, I still have some of these open in here too, but as you can see, now I have cleared out some of my open tabs that were open on the bottom. Now, as we go to share collateral, let's talk about preparing to share collateral. I like to think about 3 things. What will I be sharing? Where does it live? And who am I showing it to? So for the sake of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and choose one of my PowerPoints that I'm going to be sharing, and I will cover different ways to share as well. But for this first example, I'm going to be covering this employee resource group PowerPoint. So the what am I sharing is this employee resource group PowerPoint. Where does it live? It lives inside of PowerPoint. The reason it's showing up right here in PowerPoint is because it is a saved PowerPoint that I've previously saved inside of Teams. So basically, Teams is giving me the option to open up pre-saved files that I already have active inside of Teams. Now, the who am I showing it to? I know that this employee resource group PowerPoint is internal only, and this is an internal only meeting. So again, important to think about the what, where, and who. If I'm thinking about the who and there are guest users inside of this meeting, and I'm looking at something to share that has information that should not be shared externally, I want to make sure that that is not something that I share inside of the meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and share this PowerPoint. And as the PowerPoint opens, you can see that I can actually control it from inside of Teams right here. Since I shared it from a saved PowerPoint, you can see that I have 2 options here at the top. This little eyeball, I can prevent participants from moving forward through the shared presentation. So currently the mod administrator is in this meeting, and because it is turned on, the mod administrator can actually move forward in the presentation while I am speaking. So if I'm on slide 1, it's possible for the administrator to scroll through those slides. Now, let's say that I just want the mod administrator to only see the slide that I'm on. I'm simply going to block that, and now everyone is going to be on the same slide that I am. If I want to stop presenting this PowerPoint, I can click Stop Presenting here, and it will take me back out to the screen. Now, what I'm going to go into next are a few more scenarios of how to share and some other collateral that can be shared within the meeting. Before we do that, I'd love to just cover a few best practices for sharing. One thing that I always make sure before I go to share my screen is that there is no personal data showing. So whether that's a picture or stuff on your home screen, make sure that your home screen is cleared. There's nothing that you have open in your tabs that is personal data or customer data for that matter. Next, I love to clear my web tabs. So I am a huge culprit of having about 50 tabs open in my internet at one time. Before this session, I knew that I was going to need access to these 3 tabs, so I have them open, but everything else I've closed out. My next tip is have a neat desktop. So let me go and minimize my screen. I have a lot of things open, but you can see that I have a neat desktop. I really only have 2 things on here. This is a best practice. If you go to share your desktop, let's say that you accidentally shared the whole thing, that there's nothing that you're sharing to either outside users or even to people internally on your desktop. Let me leave some of these meetings. I was joining all the other ones on the side, so let me jump back into this one. My next tip, if possible, I love having 2 screens. I know that is not possible for everyone, but if you do have access to 2 screens, it is great to have the content that you're presenting on your second screen so that one screen can just be where you're navigating from. Another tip that I have is to mute notifications. So down here in the right-hand corner, I have all of my notifications that will pop up. Currently, I have them turned off. I would recommend going in your manage notification settings and turning them off in here. And my last tip that I have before I go through some more scenarios is remember what you shared. So for instance, that PowerPoint that I shared, it was pretty hard to forget that I was sharing PowerPoint because I was showing one of the pre-saved files. But let's say that I went to share my whole screen. Let's not forget that I shared my whole screen. So anything that I pull up, people will be able to see. So those are just some of my best practices. As I move through some more scenarios, I will keep those in mind and most likely send a few reminders with those as I move through the different scenarios. So I have quite a bit of sharing scenarios on here. I will probably only cover the top few. There are tons of different ways that you can share in Teams. A lot of them are personal preference of how you like to share, whether you're sharing things that are already pre-saved into Teams or whether you're actually going out and saving and showing things that are live and open on the web, or you're actually showing collateral inside of Teams itself. So what I would first like to do is show what it looks like to actually share a tab that is not pre-saved into Teams. So what I'm going to do is share my Internet Explorer tab. So currently I have a Word document open on the web version of Word, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to share just the Internet page. So when I do this, keep in mind that when I just share the Internet page, they cannot see the rest of my desktop. So if I were to minimize this, people would still be looking at the page that I have open on the internet. It's really easy to forget sometimes what you're sharing. So my golden rule of don't forget what you're sharing definitely applies here because again, if I minimize it, people will still be viewing this, even if I've moved on to a completely different topic. Another scenario that we have, and let me go into my meeting from here and pull up the file section. So you'll notice that I'm still in my meeting over here, but let's say that I know there's a bunch of saved files from previous webinars that we have, and I actually want to click into this weekly scheduling document. So for instance, I have it open in Teams. I can share screen one, and I'm sharing everything that's on my desktop. So if I don't want to leave Teams to edit any of my documents, I can simply go in here and edit in Word. If I have any of my peers that are in the meeting with me that could quickly jump into this document, that would be awesome, and we can show quickly how to co-author in Teams as well. So I'll wait one moment for my other demo peers to jump in here. Okay, let's see. Darby and Ambrosia, are you able? There we are. Our administrator was able to jump in here. Thanks for working on the fly there for me, Darby. So as you can see, Mod Administrator is in here co-authoring with me. I am still sharing my entire desktop screen. And so during the meeting, we can go into here and we can edit at the same time. I love using this feature. It allows me to not have to go and open my Word document on the web, or it doesn't allow it. It prevents me from going into the application itself too. So super easy to just jump in here and all edit at the same time. I know Darby and I do it a lot when we're editing before events. And then any changes that were made prior to this, I can see up at the top in the catch up. And if Darby was in here without me and she wanted to leave me a comment, she could do that in here as well. Another reminder is that when you do go out to share your screen, you will have this little icon box in the bottom right-hand corner. If you lose this box, so I'm going to minimize it quickly. So, now I don't know how to get off share screen. I can always bring that little box back up and go and exit screen. So next thing I'd like to show is how to share a video. As you can see right here, I have include computer sound. Since I'm using a VM, unfortunately, I don't have my sound set up, but when you go to share a video, you'll want to include computer sound. And then as I go out to share the video, I'll press play. And when I include that audio within there, right here, it will play the video audio back to me too. So when you go to share a video, a lot of times I hear, oh no, I don't have sound. There's two things that you're going to want to check. One, making sure that this is turned on. If it won't turn on, you'll get this little pop-up that I have right here. And what this means is you need to go into your device settings and make sure that you have a microphone and speaker connected. So again, you get this pop-up, you'll want to go into your settings and into your device and audio settings and make sure that within this meeting, you specifically have a microphone and speaker hooked up. That is normally the biggest pitfall that I see when going to share a video is that while this button is there, there is some pre-work that needs to be done to make sure that you can share this computer audio. Oops, let's get back into the meeting. Another thing that I would like to share is I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this meeting that we see right here. And I'm going to go into my chat. So I'm going to go chat mod administrator. And you can see that I put a document into here prior to our meeting. I'm going to go ahead and click into the document. And let's say that I'm in here making edits and I'm trying to chat the person at the same time, and I say, you know what, this is getting too difficult. All I want to do is chat with this person quickly to make our edits. From inside the chat, maybe I'll shoot the administrator a note and say, let's just jump on a quick call. And then I'll actually call the mod administrator. So now mod administrator is in my session. This is a one-to-one call here. And I can go share out that PowerPoint that I was sharing with them earlier. And so now as I open this up, we can just discuss from directly within our meeting rather than going back and forth and chat. I know this happens to us all the time. It's really easy to chat back and forth, but sometimes it's easy to just click that Meet Now button and go ahead and meet on the topic that you are discussing within chat. So I'm going to actually jump back into this meeting. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to cover channel meetings. I know that there were a couple questions on that. So thanks for bearing with me here. But just quickly, I'm going to jump into channel meetings. And as I jump into here, how I can share a collateral and share screen within here. So there was some questions earlier on the difference between the meetings that we were in within the calendar and a channel meeting. So these channel meetings that you see here are scheduled from directly within the channel, and all channel participants are able to join. Oops. So when I click on this channel meeting, it will take me into the information. Currently, there's not been any documents shared. I'm going to add a few other people into this just to make sure that they got it. Again, the people that you invite will be included, plus the people that are directly within the channel. So as I send my update, I'm going to join the call. And now I am in my channel meeting. So same rules apply as to the other meetings, except this one lives directly in the channel. Same content that I can share. Again, you see my desktop, my window, and the PowerPoints that I have specifically saved within Teams. So not much different in terms of sharing and preparing collateral, except where that meeting lives. While we're in here, Administrator and Diego, can one of you all share your screen and we can practice, or I might not have it set up for this channel, but I'd love to practice how to give out your screen. And we might need to switch over meetings here. So mod administrator, if you could just share your screen quickly and we can show how to take over someone else's screen. Ooh. Awesome. So now we see that mod administrator is sharing content. Now, let's say that I wanted to take control of my screen since I'm the organizer of this session. So it's time for us to switch. I can take control of the presentation. And now I am the one controlling it within here. And so it looks like someone else retook control. So you'll see this pop up at the top. Another user took control. Someone else is now in control of the presentation. So as you can see, this is a great time to put into use what Ambrosia went over, designating who's a presenter, who's an attendee, who has access. Because as you can see right now, all of us have access to this presentation to take control. So it's super important before you go into it to make sure to set up different roles for your presenters and your attendees. So I'm going to leave the meeting. I'm going to go back into my calendar. And the last thing that I'd like to cover before we go into questions is just specifically where these files live, meeting notes, and then I'd also like to show again meetings extensibility and how we can add in applications to our meeting. So you've learned how to screen share, you know all the best practices for screen sharing. Now the meeting's over. Where can I go to actually go into these documents? If we discuss them in chat, you'll see that I had posted all of our documents in here prior to the session. I can always go back to my chat and click into the documents from here. I think the easiest way to do this is to view from the Files section. As you can see, I have my 2 documents that I've uploaded into here. So I know that my new employee meeting orientation and my weekly scheduling doc are always going to be important files to this week 2 webinar. These documents, I have the ability to edit in Teams, open in a desktop browser, open in a browser, and I can download or get the link. So after they've been shared in the meeting and uploaded, I have all of these options to then share them out after as well. Meeting notes, I also have access to. So when you actually go to set up your meeting as a best practice, and I believe Darby and Ambrosia covered this as well, but as you're setting up your meeting, you can also add a spot for your meeting notes. These meeting notes will be available for all of your meetings. So if you set up a reoccurring meeting and you set up this week 2 webinar new employee onboarding meeting note, those notes will continue across all of the same scheduled meetings for a reoccurring meeting. We did learn that if you add somebody to a meeting after the fact, they will have to specifically request access to these meeting notes. So again, everyone that is invited to the meeting will have access to these meeting notes. Anybody invited after meeting notes have been started will need to request access. And then we also have Poly, one of our polling applications. I believe meeting extensibility was covered on one of our past sessions, but we do have the availability to also go into our meeting and add a tab. We have first-party tabs such as website, Word, Stream, PowerPoint, and then we also have third-party applications that you can add into here as well. Some of these are game-oriented like Kahoot. Poly is a polling application. We also have interview add-ins as well. So there are tons of options for things that you can add into your meeting. For the sake of the demo, I'm going to choose Poly, which I've already pre-made. Poly, again, is a polling application. And so prior to the meeting, I went into here and set up a few questions. Now, for my team, I'm actually going to jump back into this meeting and just quickly show you what meeting extensibility looks like. So as you can see, we have our Poly icon in here. When I go to click into Poly, I have specific questions that I've already pre-made. I can go and send my quick questions. And so as you can see, what I love about this is that it actually pops up in the middle of the screen. So rather than it just sticking into chat, it kind of forces everyone to stop and pause and interact with the meeting, before carrying on. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my response. I am excited and grateful. And then what do I want for lunch? I want pizza for lunch, so I'll submit that. And I've completed the poly, and you can see in real time, I can see the check-in and the polling questions on the side. This was covered before, but again, this is a great way to provide interaction inside of your meeting. Those two-word check-ins are something we do here at Microsoft. And so we're actually starting to use these meeting extensibility tools to do that as well. Again, just a great way to check in, see where people are at, and provide a little bit more conversation within these meetings as well. So with that, I know that we have a lot more time left. I'd love to open it up for questions to see if there's anything else that we can review or go over, or anything in additional people would like to see.
How about spotlights, backgrounds? I think that was put in the chat.
Sure. So if my demo buddies are available to jump back into week 2 webinar, I can go over Spotlight again.
Hey, Bridget, I'm logged in as Diego, so I won't be able to get into.
Oh, okay.
If you pick
Then,
another.
okay, thank you. We'll go back into this other one, the weekly team call.
And Darby, it might be good to maybe also talk about the difference between spotlighting and pinning.
Sure. Okay. So now that we are in here with some of our other demo buddies, we can review Spotlight and pinning again. I know Darby covered that at the beginning, but for those of you that are new, we'll go ahead and cover it again. So 2 things that you see here, pinning and Spotlight. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Diego. Now Diego is spotlighted, which means everybody on this meeting can see Diego. It isn't just for one person, it is for everyone. And until I stop spotlighting Diego, or Diego turns themselves off of stoplight, they will be the primary video function, or just the primary screen that people see. Now, let's say that personally, Diego is the only one with video on, Diego is the only one sharing screen, and no one spotlighted him, but I just want to pin him. So as Joanna, the person that's in the demo tenant right now, Joanna is the one deciding that they personally want to pin Diego just for themselves. So nobody else will see that Diego's video is pinned, since this is just for an individual. In order for everyone to see it, it has to be that spotlight. So pin, personal, spotlight, everyone. I think there was a question too about background. So because I'm on a virtual machine, I don't have my camera hooked up here, but I can show you where it would typically be. So when you go into the camera in your tenant, you'll see a little icon that says add backgrounds. From there, you can go into there and add more backgrounds. So again, sorry about not having our camera hooked up within the virtual machine, but you'll be able to find that add background function within your 3 ellipses panel under here. Any other questions that we can review while we have some time?
Hey, Bridget, we have a good question here about channel meetings again. If you could show about how you could add the channel calendar as a tab.
Sure. So just going and adding the channel's calendar at the top, Darby?
Right. Yes.
Okay. So as I go into here, and I might recruit some help because I don't think I've actually ever added the calendar into a tab. If I go and click on channel calendar, we'll see it pop up right here. Love this feature. I'll have to start using this in my teams. I can go and add the channel calendar at the top. Anyone else on here that's used it that has a great use case around it? Stacy, I see you.
Yeah, I came off just because I was playing around with it once to see, and it is really great. But what it would be really helpful for is if you have a daily or weekly, monthly stand up with your team, because when you create a channel calendar, it spins up a meeting. So it's not going to show you just a calendar with specific items. It will spin up a meeting every time, but it is wonderful for those, say, daily stand-ups or check-ins.
And I would also add a use case there too, that it may be really powerful if you are a communications organization and maybe you need to know what events are going on throughout the city, county, or state. And so with that, leveraging that team calendar pinned into wherever you pinned it to, that can be helpful as well, right? So instead of having to jump in your calendar or your Outlook calendar, or maybe just a document that's already posted, you can just have a look in here on the team so that it really just creates a fast way to look at it.
Yep.
I can go look at some questions too and see if there's anything. Spotlighting multiple videos. I know that is coming. I believe the limit is going to be increased to 7. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. But we will be increasing the spotlight capabilities.
Yep, you're right with 7. We're targeting this quarter.
I also see a request to co-author again. And thanks for bearing with us here. I know we're jumping kind of all around, but great to answer these questions again and take some more time to really go through these. So for co-authoring, Darby and Ambrosia, if I can ask you all to jump into a document with me, I will quickly get us to one. If we can go into our daily Scrum call.
Add Joanna to this meeting, please.
Oh, yeah. Who? Add who?
Joanna. Or no, Diego.
I was going to say I am Joanna. Okay, so if we go into our daily Scrum call, I have a few documents already pinned here at the top. I know our team notes is one, but let me just go into our file section and pull one from here. I have our Project Mars Go Live schedule. I just made that up. Oops. All right, it doesn't want to open for me, so let me go into my call issue tracker. Darby or Ambrosia, hate to put you on the spot, but can one of you all share your screen for co-authoring really quick? I think I actually need to refresh my teams here. It is not letting me open it. Let's see.
I am in the weekly team call mandatory chat. If you want to go in there, there's a PowerPoint that we could click on and co-author.
Okay. Let's go in here. For some reason, it's really not letting me go in. I'm going to stop sharing for a sec.
No problem. So everyone should see my screen now. And from there, you should see a PowerPoint. And so if Bridget and Darby, if you could drop in here, you'll be able to see that. And just for, the purpose of whoever asked that question or wants to know how you get to this is whether you're in your chat or Teams, or maybe you're just in the file section in your calendar, right, from a meeting. So you would just simply go into, let's just say your chat, for example, click in here, and then it would route you to the PowerPoint. And then let's just say we wanted to bring in a new document, right? So not necessarily an existing. We would just simply click the paperclip, upload from our computer or OneDrive. In this case, I'm going to use my computer. And from there, it's going to take me to all of my files that I have here, right? So let's just select one of the files here that I have. And so I'm going to take, let's see.
I can switch back to mine if you want. I've refreshed it.
Perfect, perfect. Oh, we have one actually.
Oh,
The daily
perfect.
on-call issue tracker. Clicking into that. And from there, now you'll see, if you pay attention to the top right here, you'll see when the team jumps into this, this document. So now you can see the two icons letting me know who and where they are in the document. So we have, of course, the mod administrator, they're editing C7. So if you notice here to the middle of the screen, we have the purple icon indicating the mod administrator. And then if I hover over Joanna, she's editing A8. So if I wanted to jump over to where I see pink, I now see Joanna is editing this, square here. And then one of the powerful things about this is that although we're not necessarily in a meeting, you do have the ability to still chat with them, right? So if you click this icon, this is going to be a little different than chatting. This is going to be commenting, right? So this is going to be within the document that you're adding commentary to whatever fields you choose. Within this option here, this is going to be conversation. So this is going to be chatting back and forth within the Teams interface. So as you see here, we have them side by side. We have the comment section. So let's just say I wanted to refer to a comment that maybe Bridget made about a cell. Well, with this, right, see, just perfect example, right, where Diego, they're asking Diego, did you hear about 680? So if I refer back to 680, we're pending approval on this. So now I need to either add a date that it was resolved or update the status on this or check back with Deborah to see if we've gotten everything approved. And then with that, I can go back to the mod administrator. Yes. Approved. And so now she's now received a notification that says it's approved and she can go ahead and change that. And this is really powerful, right? When you're thinking about trying to get things done in a very, very quick and efficient manner, doing this in maybe a 30-minute meeting really scales down that need to drive forward and email things back and forth or chat things back and forth or wait for someone to send you back their edits. We can get this done in maybe a 30-minute, 15-minute call or not even jump in a call, right? We can just mention that person and give them that responsibility. Perfect. So Darby or Bridget, do we have anything else that's in the Q&A? I don't see anything But definitely would love to highlight anything else that we have.
I see one question in here, and I should have clarified on my part, but asking why to turn off notifications. So just to clarify on that, not necessarily turning off your notifications in Teams, but if you're going to be sharing out your screen, if you'd like to just turn your notifications off for Windows, it can be really distracting when you're sharing screen to have all of your emails and calls and updates popping up from your Windows notifications. So just like if I know that I'm going to be sharing a lot, I'll go and turn off my Windows notifications for the day or maybe for the week, just so that when I'm sharing my screen, all my emails aren't popping up while I'm sharing content. And I am looking, there's some more questions on content in terms of, is it best to share your desktop? Is it best to share, a website tab? It's totally a personal preference, keeping in mind, like I said before, if you're sharing your desktop, you are totally sharing everything that's on your computer. So as long as you're remembering what you've shared, it is completely a personal preference if you prefer to share out your whole desktop or just certain tabs at one time.
And I would add to that too, Bridget, that I would echo it's definitely a personal preference. Just a recommendation from what I prefer. If, for example, I need to have some flexibility with my screens, right? So, for example, right now with this demo, I have my content that I want to share with you all, but on my second screen, I have the actual production meeting on the other screen because I want that full flexibility to be able to move back and forth between screens. If I need to bring something else over, I can do that. And so, as you just saw pop up in the right corner, and so that just gives you some more flexibility. So share your desktop if you need that. If you only want visibility on one single item the entire time you're presenting, so let's just say we're always going to be in a PowerPoint the entire session. Well, go ahead and just share that window, right? So that way you can multitask, you can do other things. Even if you have only one screen, sharing just a simple window will then allow you to be able to multitask. Right? So now, of course, they will see your mouse moving back and forth across the screen. However, it gives you that control around what folks do see, right? If you are in HR, you may want to use your judgment about sharing your desktop, right? Because you never know what's on your desktop, what you're working on. And so you just want to be very, very sure of what you're sharing. But just from recommendation that I would give, I use desktop when I want to have flexibility. I use window when I want to focus in on that one single item for the duration of the call. So hopefully that's helpful. Alrighty. Darby, Bridget, do you think we have anything else to cover today?
We do have a really good question in the chat about how you can transfer a Teams meeting from your desktop or from your laptop to your cell phone. I realize that's a bit tricky to demo in a live event right now, but maybe we could at least kind of talk through how seamless that process is.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So because I'm sharing my screen, I'll just demo that really quickly. So let's just say right now I am on my desktop, as you see, right? I have my join button here on my computer. Let's just say I need to transfer over, maybe I have to leave for a doctor's appointment or go for another meeting, or maybe just close out for the day, but I still want to keep in touch and connected in what's going on in the meeting. Now, of course, I can join in on my web browser, right? And so with that, logging into the call. And so with that, if I need to transfer over on my phone, what I will do is, now of course I cannot show you this, right? But what I would do is in the Teams application on my mobile device, whether that be an iPad or an Android device and any iOS device, I'll go into my calendar and I'll click on that meeting that I want. And what it'll do is it'll ask me, do I want to join via the same device or add the device, or do I want to transfer to this device. And so with those two options, and maybe Bridget or Darby, if you could find a link to that and post it in the Q&A, that'd be awesome. But with that, I want to transfer to the device, right? Because I don't necessarily want to still be logged in on my computer. I want to be logged into my mobile device so I can move around. And so with that, click transfer. And what will happen is it'll automatically and seamlessly switch over to whatever mobile device you're trying to get on. Some use cases with why you would maybe want to add the device so then both of them are on. Let's just say you don't have audio on your desktop, right? So you'll add the device of your mobile phone or iPad, for example, and essentially you are getting the audio from the mobile device, but watching the content on your desktop. So that's a really, really nice way to leverage that. Darby, Bridget, I don't know if you have any other use cases as to why you would do that. But definitely is super helpful, right, when you're trying to transition.
Yeah, I can say personally that a ton of times I will use my phone as my audio too, and use my desktop app just to make sure that I can see everything. So if your headset's dead, or you just prefer using your phone, I will join from my phone and also join from the desktop so that I'm using audio on one and visual on the other. Again, total personal preference. I find it helpful sometimes, if I don't have a headset lying around, or maybe my headset, I forgot to charge it that night.
Yep, echo that for sure. And I would just give the Teams app a little plug here. If you haven't downloaded the Teams mobile app, I would definitely recommend it. They did a really nice job keeping those features pretty consistent. So you will notice it looks very similar. Also, when you join a Teams meeting from your mobile app, you're not just joining on audio. You're actually going to be able to see the screen. You can zoom in, you can share your own screen, raise your hand. You really have all the same control. You're not going to be double counted. They did a really nice job with that feature, so I would definitely check it out.
So I see there's a couple of questions that just came into the Q&A, and we'll probably close out after that. But with these two questions, it says, during the meeting, how can I show my screen or window if I want to show something from my PC? So again, if you're jumping into a call here, just going to demo that really quickly. Things may look a little different. I am in a demo tenant in the web, but with that open share tray is going to look exactly the same as it does in the desktop client. And so with that, we have the options here where we can click the desktop or window, or if we want to just select a simple PowerPoint, right, to focus in, or document, whatever the case may be. So hopefully that helps with your question. And then how can each attendee show or share their screen during a team meeting? So with sharing your screen, it is going to be a one person at a time basis. It's not necessarily going to be where multiple people can share their screen. Darby or Bridget, let me know if that you think of a different answer for that. Hopefully that aligns there. Perfect. Alrighty, well, I think if there's nothing else, I think we can close out for today. Hopefully you have enjoyed this session. You've got enough wealth of resources and knowledge from us. Again, if you have any questions that are lingering or that you want to follow up on, please reach out to your CSMs. They are here, we are here to help support you and guide you. So if you have anything or maybe some follow-ups, feel free to post it in the Q&A. We'll look at it, but also reach out directly to your CSM. That's probably the fastest way to get some things done. So I don't know, Bridget or Darby, do you have any other closing remarks?
There is also a lot of comments about receiving the links for our future session. So we will be sure to reach out to all of our fellow CSMs and make sure that everyone receives the links for future sessions as well.